areas. So just that, 1 minute of quick discussion.
So before I ask you about what actually can help connect young people to their learning world, these are the sort of conditions that we can help control. So what I did talk about earlier is the fact that it's very hard to control what happens in the outside lives, but inside, in a learning situation, we have control over that, and actually more accountability and responsibility to control that part of their life. We often see them more than anyone else does. So, that's what I'm thinking about now, those conditions within that control mechanism from a learning and teaching perspective that we actually have. So 30 more seconds and then I'm going to go through some conditions.
Okay. Now I'm going to do this in a different way. What I'm going to put up, what I'm going to put up, what I have put up are, I've counted again, 12. Now these 12 conditions, the research that my teaching associate did over a period of about 2 or 3 years was to actually survey schools, primary and secondary schools, and educators outside of mainstream schooling about what conditions they felt were needed within a learning context to really enhance and honour young people's learning. Now these were the top 12 that came out. Now actually what I want to see is there any conditions that you came up with that aren't part of those conditions, that aren't similar to those?
One was ownership.
Ownership? Brilliant, yeah. Fantastic. Anything else? Doesn't align with that?
Oh, it's not one of those.
Yeah, it's not one of those.
Is that one of those?
What was that?
Opportunities.
Opportunities.
So
Yeah, it's not there as well.
opportunities to see
Yeah.
what they're learning and
Or giving them breadth of provision, opportunities to sort of explore and to find things that they might connect to. Yep. So what these are 12 of the key conditions, and are not the only conditions. There's lots, we know that. But these are the ones in some ways that we can potentially control, or at least understand. And I think these are really key. We can control the way, and I suppose develop a space where questioning is part of, the everyday work that we do. So questions become a condition, becomes an expectation, it becomes part of the learning space. Safety, no. That's really having a safe space, not just from an innovation perspective, but from a risk, from an emotional, from a behavioural perspective as well. Observations, being able to I suppose, bring in the condition of observation and allow that, enabling that. Instructions, modelling and exemplars. Modelling exemplars for me is really key and crucial, and so often I think we fail to model what we think is actually really best practice and good behaviour. We sometimes just expect young people to come up with something. Sometimes they really need to see it visually and feel it, and we know that from a applied learning perspective. But I don't think we often harness that enough as a good condition. Having support, I think we're all here because we do know how much we need to support. We do support beautifully. Time. I love this one because there's always major arguments about the time that we actually need. We are time poor. We all are. But I think what's really important is that we have to honour time, and it's a condition for learning, not only for us, from a teacher to teacher, but also from a teacher to student, we need to have more time, but also from a student to student. So there's 3 different areas there we have to honour and actually build into what we do. We rush too much, we try and get through too much, and again, it's quality. So, giving time and allocating time. Expectations, and again, I'm going to touch on this a little bit further down the track, but really setting high expectations. We know the capabilities and the competencies of our young people, and often because of maybe labels or because of the way that things happen in our school environments, we don't set the expectations high enough. Most of our learners have actually lower expectations of themselves than we expect and we want. If we raise the bar of them, we need to also raise the bar for ourselves and have greater expectations of ourselves as practitioners. Now, lifeworlds, this rate really high as a condition, and again, it's the honouring. But it's also honouring our own life worlds and what we bring into the, I suppose, the learning context. Desire. I've done this study on the notion of desire and passion and motivation, especially motivation. Motivation for teachers and for students about what, we do know that unless a student is motivated, they are not going to ever be connected. That's the connection point, is motivation. Doesn't matter what it is. And if you can connect them to something that is motivationally focused, so if they connect to basketball, you embrace that. That's a model, that's an exemplar. That is something that you celebrate. And I know that part of the conversation we had earlier was about celebration. Desire for us as well. We have to demonstrate our desire for learning, our desire for teaching, our desire for actually working as teams. And unless we actually model an example of that, the students aren't going to do that. Resources, yeah, we are so resourceful in many respects, but I think resource sharing and being resource savvy and working on that is that's a key area. And there's problem solving. There's ways around it, but sometimes we have to think of those conditions and we have to work with it no matter what. And existing knowledge, and this is where I struggle. And I know, I suppose, working with my own team in my own organisation, honouring the existing knowledge that people have. The experiences that bring, we can do that with our students a lot better, because I tell you what, they have the most amazing existing knowledge banks that we don't tap into. They are so rich. So I think these are some of the key conditions that we need to look at in the work we do.
Louisa?
Yeah.
One of the other things I think is, I'm not sure if it comes under smoke or something, but allowing space to fail, like encouraging the risk taking,
Yes.
so that failure is not seen as something that
Yeah.
they don't want to risk doing.
And do you know, that's a cultural thing, unfortunately. I think we've talked about this before too, with, I remember with another cohort, the fact that, in Australia, unfortunately, risk-taking is seen as a negative, whereas in America, actually risk-taking is seen as a positive. From an IT and ICT perspective, so much technology that is developed is driven because of risk-taking. 90% failure, encourages the most amazing, dynamic, organisations. We don't encourage risk-taking, safe risk-taking, but it is. I think it's one of the keys that we celebrate it, we make it a safe risk-taking, and that failure means, hey, part of that action learning, okay, you did it, you acted on it, let's reflect on it, did it work? What have you learned from it? Let's start again, it's part of that, yes.
The group to expectations, about having high expectations, that's fine, but they should be achievable.
Absolutely achievable, yeah, absolutely. But I think sometimes we see it all the time, they achieve more than sometimes we expect, and it's how you push without pushing too far as well. Yeah.
When you're dealing with sort of kids that often have very low self-esteem,
Yeah.
what we regard as success, they often regard as failure. So it's part of the language that you use, and part of sort of filling in.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to describe to them what they did in your terms.
And do you know what? That is part of the connection of honouring their life well, because it is about their own language and lexicon, and what language and I suppose the actions for them mean something very different, and it's that connection that we have to understand it. And so we say, well, actually, in their context, it is a failure. So it's a bridging the gap, I think, which is the key there as well.